You're listening to the greatest multifamily investment advice show. My name is Adam Ras, and now I'm talking everything multifamily for an in-depth conversation, and I will be diving deep into raising capital, deals, and underwriting process. Welcome back to the greatest multifamily advice show. Today we have Vikram Raya, an exceptional guest with more than 7 years in real estate investing in different real estate spaces, more than $650 million under management. Please help me to welcome our guest today. How are you, Vic?
Adam, good to see you, and good to be here.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for being with us today, and I appreciate you taking the time. Vic, your background is in the medical space, and you had like a huge transition to multifamily and real estate investment. What was the upside for you to say, okay, I want to do this transition to multifamily?
Adam, I want to be very upfront with your listeners. So I was pretty good at the medical plumbing of the body. And so I just transitioned to the physical plumbing of the building, man. No difference.
Yeah.
The heart has electrical issues, so does the body, you know. So it's like, so does the building. So I felt that my skill sets as a physician can translate into the detail-oriented nature of high-level investing in syndications and in multifamily. But that being said, it was not an easy journey. I didn't realize this was where I was going to end up. You know, my whole life, my dream was to become a cardiologist. I worked my tail off to get there. In fact, that was like, if I had achieved that, I thought I was set for life. And I worked innumerable hours. You know, in fact, I didn't match the first time I applied for cardiology. I couldn't get in. It was so difficult. It's one of the most difficult specialties to get into in the country. And I reapplied, and I did more research, and I did all this stuff. And then I got in, and I thought, man, this is it. This is great. You know, I thought birds would chirp and flowers would come from the heavens. And what I found, Adam, was this: the physicians that are in the practice, many of them really enjoyed what they did, but many of them were doing it for the paycheck. And in fact, they were working more and more hours, longer and longer. And the joy that they initially received from medicine was gone. And essentially, they were just trying to squeeze as much as they can out of the job in order to pay themselves, in order to live their life that they wanted. And I knew I couldn't keep trading dollars for hours. That was not a proposition I was willing to make. And so I made a declaration when I started practicing in 2011. I said, if I'm still practicing, and I was like about 33 at the time, Adam. I said, if I'm still practicing by the age of 40, something went terribly wrong. So I made that declaration. I didn't know how, why, what's going to happen because of that, but I just made that declaration. The second thing I did was I tried to explore other opportunities. We call them side hustles, alternative streams of income, investment strategies. I went from, I had a placement where I would help these facilities staff with physicians. I tried that, and you know, it was successful to a moderate amount. I've also had I tried options trading. I found that very difficult. In fact, it was I found that one of the most complicated things I've ever had to learn. And finally, I was like, I settled on real estate because it made sense to me. It was intuitive. It's a real asset. I could touch it. I could feel it. And I know a lot of people who are not very smart, who are multi-millionaires in real estate. So I was like, okay, this is something, you know, if they can do it, I can do it. So I started in single family homes, and my first home was $28,000. It was in Atlanta. I bought it with my father. And I was so scared when I bought that home. $28,000. We put in about $20,000 of work into it, and we sold it a couple of years later for $80,000. I was like, wow, this is awesome. So I did that for a couple of years, but then I realized that this is nice, but this is never going to achieve the kind of true financial freedom that I want. And, you know, I'm already making good six figures. You know, to replace that and make it even more, I had to do something more. I had to create scale. And so I know, Adam, a lot of the listeners on your podcast are wondering, hey, how do I take my business to the next level? One, you have to decide. Number two, you got to get mentorship. Number three, you got to make your business a system instead of a one-man shop or one-woman shop. And so I figured out, to make more money and to create scale, I need more doors. So multifamily was a natural evolution. And number two, I need to make it stop making it a hobby and make it a professional business. And those two decisions have now helped us create $650 million of acquisitions. We're in 6 states. I think 10 MSAs. We're looking at deals right now. I've created a team of about 20 people, and we're on track to hit $1 billion of assets.
I think there's a great say here about more IQ you have, less money you make, but you managed to change this belief because, of course, you have a high IQ, but you managed to change, as you said, the mindset of being a 9 to 5 job to actual business. And as you said, the main skill here is to understand this is a team sport. You cannot work alone on this business. So how you manage to understand this? And you mentioned another thing also about the mentorship. Let's start with being with a team. What was the upside for you to be with a team on your company?
Not just in multifamily real estate, but anything someone wants to scale. Like if you have a medical clinic and you're just one person shop, and I coach a lot of these doctors who are out there who they want to expand and grow, but they don't want to share their income. They want to keep everything inside. To grow and scale, you have to learn to be generous. That means you have to hire people, you have to pay, you have to share in the wealth of what you're creating.
Okay.
Number two is you have to realize you are the bottleneck. The entrepreneur can only succeed as far as his confidence and his ability to think and scale. So I have to think like a Fortune 500 CEO to take my small little investment company to that next level, right? I have to stop thinking like the fix and flipper on the side of the street, or the guys who are at the real estate associations, or the people at the meetups, right? They think too small.
Yeah.
I want to think like, okay, if I want to get, and you have to also think with the end in mind. So stop being an engineer and start being a visioneer, So that vision prompted my mission, and the mission prompted my strategy, and the strategy prompted the team and the consistent daily actions that I needed to create that 3, 5, 10-year vision. So with that being said, when I started this company, Viking Capital, in 2015 with my buddy, I already knew where I eventually wanted to take the company. And so year 1 is this, year 2 is this, year 3 is this, and year 4, and it's like consistently growing. And the less decisions have to run through me, the faster my company starts growing.
Okay, makes sense. My next question will be about your scaling your portfolio around a lot of state. Can you tell us about your target market right now, especially with the inflation? And we're already in the middle of recession with the new interest hikes from the US banks. So what is your current strategy and your focus on the market right now?
I'm actually excited. I'm smiling. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that the fair weather investors have gone. They've left the market already, because in the last few years, anyone could make money in the market. Now it actually takes strategy and skill set to win in this market cycle. And so it was very crowded space. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry wanted to do multifamily and syndications or self-storage or whatever asset class. Now the people who are going to really do well are the people who are well positioned. They have good relationships. They can underwrite very well. They know how to stress test. They can acquire debt that still makes sense. And they're not hoping for appreciation. They're generating cash flow, and they're choosing the growth and emerging markets where there's demographic positivity, there's employment positivity, and there's overall a supply and demand mismatch that is in favor of the multifamily owner.
So far, how many transaction with a full cycle with Viking Capital?
So out of the 26 deals, we've taken 9 full cycle.
Oh, okay. My question again, as I mentioned, what is a major focus for you on the market right now? Is the Southeast, as the Midwest? So which location you're looking for right now?
It's the Sun Belt. That's our number one geographic location. We're I don't care what your political affiliation is, but we're buying in red states.
Okay.
Because they're more landlord friendly.
Yeah.
That's where the jobs are going, and that's where the growth is going. So vote however you want, but I'd recommend buying in more of the Republican or red states, we call them.
Yeah. As you mentioned, this is because of, I think, the market fundamental shift, especially on net immigration, the friendly laws, especially on rent control, and all of this happening, I think, on the southwest, southeast, I'm sorry, was Texas, Florida, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Alabama's. All of the states still has a huge potential, and this is an actual market shift on the last, I think, 2 years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Andy. I'm Adam.
Okay, so as an advantage player on the actual market right now, and you mentioned the recession, how you see the similarity between the current market and 2008 scenario, especially that the actual factors now is different than the previous recession on 2008?
I think you clearly said it. I mean, this is a different recession. This is more like the 2000 recession, Adam. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The consumer is not slowing down. I was in Italy for about a month. We just came back. Dude, there's so many Americans out there. They have a lot of money. They have disposable income. The euro and the dollar actually achieved parity, which has been very rare. It hasn't happened for the last 20 years. And so what that tells me, there's the strength of the US dollar. And that's because of the interest rate hikes that the Federal Reserve is doing. The overall global economy believes in the US economy. It's a safe haven. And the $10 trillion of excess liquidity that was created from the quantitative easing is now looking for a yield. So regardless of the interest rate hikes, this money, unless interest rate hikes go really high, where it's like it makes sense just in put in like stocks and treasuries and things like that, they still have to chase a relatively good yield, and U.S. real estate is probably the best place to do that. There is not financial, the financial behavior of the lending institutions has been very good. So it still takes a lot of energy to get a loan. It takes a lot of requirements. And so the reason why transactional volume was high was because of liquidity and equity, not because they were giving easy loans to folks. And that's another difference between 2008. So this will be like a 2000 recession where it's mild, 12, 18, at most 24 months, not as severe. People will probably work through it, go through it, and the smart investors will make a killing off of it. And the conservative investors, or the people who are not sure, we're probably going to sit on the sidelines and wait for it to heat up again.
Makes sense. This basically is an opportunity for a lot of investors. If you have a good relationship and you saving cash on the side, you can buy really good deals on this market. I think I'm going to shift to another question, which is, what is your specialization right now on the asset class? Are you focused on B class or C class buildings right now on your career?
So for the guys, if you don't, your listeners, D class is war zone. C class is like blue collar housing. B class is, white collar, gray collar housing. And A class is people who choose to rent by choice. They're essentially renting by choice. When we started our company, to get the deals, you usually first started winning the C class deals. But now in this economy, I don't want to win a C class deal because, their car breaks down. They probably won't be able to make the rent check, right? And they're probably one or two disasters away from not being able to pay rent. While a B class person probably has 6 months of rent lined up, and it's not going to, a rent bump is not going to change their life in any way.
Yeah.
And definitely A class as well. So we're buying in B and A areas and in B and A class properties. And this is a more conservative, and it's actually a more lucrative strategy, especially during this part of the economic and market cycle.
I like this transition always with investors when they start to scale their business. They understand that the money on the beginning You have to be on class C, and then they understand the hustle is too much, and then they do the transition to A and B, which is making more sense, to be honest, as you mentioned. But right now, as you mentioned, with 9 deals already with full cycle, can you tell us what is more appealing for you right now after 7 years on the business? It's more on the syndication or the fund model?
Syndications are a way to raise capital, whether it's in a fund or in a single asset. So they're both syndications.
Yeah.
But maybe your question is really single asset syndications versus multiple asset syndications.
Yeah.
So I've done both. I like both. It just depends on your investor base. Some investors love, putting money in one money with a sponsor, and they trust the sponsor and they don't have to worry about the details. So that's one of the fund model. Other people really, they're a little more sophisticated investors. They're savvy. They want to look at each deal individually and make a decision on the deal.
Yeah.
And that's more of the single asset. So we've done both. We've been successful in both. And we'll probably continue to do both. Initially, we're going to just do fund model, but we found our investors, we have really smart, savvy, sophisticated investors. They actually want to look at the individual deals. So we want to give them both options.
I think you mentioned another thing as on the beginning. I think the main factor here in our business is raising capital. How was the raising capital journey for you, especially on the beginning, to start to marketing for your model, for your properties, especially on the beginning on 2016 and 17? How was that raising capital journey for you look like?
It's less about the what year we started raising it versus just our growth in our mindset, right? Initially we thought, hey, what we're doing, we want to do it for ourselves. And then people found out what we're doing and they wanted to join us. And so we invited them in. So it was friends and family. And then now we're at the point where we think we have an opportunity for anyone in the country who wants to work at the top level experienced operator to really join us, at vikingmultifamily.com and really take their hard-earned dollars and translate that into this kind of passive income streams. And I know there's a lot of syndicators out there, a lot of sponsors, but you really got to look at the experience. Who's been through some market cycles, who's actually, taken deals full cycle. And if you ask people who've done this many deals, what is your experience? Have you had a bad deal? Have you done these things? And if they don't answer yes, they're probably not telling the truth. So most people have had some kind of, strategies, challenge, setbacks, and we've had too. But despite that, we've never lost a single investor dollar, Adam. So I'm really proud of that. And number two, we've averaged about a 24.8% return for our investors over the whole period.
That's really great. That's really above, I think, the market value. Usually it's a market value between 18 to 20, but 24% is perfect. I think my next question will be about mentorship and how important the mentorship. I saw that we discussed this. You've been in different mentorship. What was the goal or an upside for you to go between different mentors and different cycles in your career so far?
It's 2 words: collapsing time, Adam. The goal is to collapse time. I told you in 2011, when I finished my cardiology fellowship and I got my first job, I was like, if I'm still practicing by the age of 40, which was in 2018, something went terribly wrong. And so that bold goal of essentially, first I had to go and achieve the pinnacles of my cardiology career, all the while figure out alternative streams of income. So then when I left cardiology, I'd have other ways to, support myself. That was because I've really worked on my mindset. I've started thinking about things that are impossible to most people, but are possible to me. I've had to figure out systems and strategies. I've had to figure out, how to handle setbacks and challenges. I've had to learn how to become a leader and run teams. I've had to figure out how to acquire talent. I've had to also learn how to become marketing and selling, because we're all marketing and selling something. If I'm a doctor, I'm marketing and selling my health strategies to my patients. If I'm an engineer, I'm trying to, market my projects so I can get more business. If I'm, we're podcasters, what we're trying to do, we're trying to market and gain more, listeners to, and come into our ecosystem, if you will. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. If I'm a parent, I'm trying to market to my kids so they follow the right principles and be successful in life. So what I've done is I've tried to become a master of influence and and I had to learn all these skill sets. And this is not what they teach you in medical school. They don't teach you this in business school. They don't teach you this in many places. So I've had to consistently be a really good learner. So the skill of meta learning is huge. It's creating that vision and mindset, and then it's getting people who've already done what I want to do. I want to get really good at marketing. Let me hire the best marketing guy out there. I want to get good at how to scale my company. Let me hire Greg Dickerson. Like, you know, I've been to hire all these people, and now like I have a team of coaches all over, and now so much goodness has been pumped into me. Now I'm sort of teaching others. So now I have like I have hundreds of doctors in my mentorship where I help them up level their life in business success and in, you know, and whatever else they're trying to achieve. And I like to do that for the fun of it, not because I need to. I really, thankfully, because of my real estate, I've been able to, you know, be financially, you know, free, if you will. But now it's, how do I pay it forward? How do I give back? So many people have helped me. How do I help others?
100%, 100%. I think that I will come to my favorite question always on my podcast. And you, as a good human bloomer, how you describe your superpower or strengths?
I think it's to manufacture success, right? No success has been given. I don't think I have any innate intelligence or ability. It's like, all right, I see a goal, I see a vision, and I freaking figure out a way to make that happen. And I know I can't do it, so I figure out how to assemble a team. I assemble systems, and I'm sort of the orchestra director, but there's so many pieces that have to get together to make something happen. So I think that's my superpower, and I don't know when to say no. I don't know when to say stop.
Okay. I think the last question will be, everyone know about Viking Capital, but how the people can follow Viking Capital success or reach out to your...
Yeah. So we're on all the social media channels, but vikingmultifamily.com is our website. It'd be a great place to get started, or, you know, reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Thanks a lot for being with us today, and we're really happy to bring you again to talk more about the success of Viking Capital. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks
awesome to be here.